You didn't probably connect as much as I thought you would have.
Clarkson and Pagan, so major differences in their coaching.
I think Clarko decided he didn't want it, so it got taken out a few years ago.
Look, it depends how you judge it.
Whether you're best player or shit kicker, you're one of us.
Don't
tell me
pick
you
it up.
picked up my dog.
So I picked it up because I didn't want you to think that it was my dog that did it because you weren't watching.
Mid-season, like we're all going to fly to Melbourne to have dinner with you. Like.
Okay, here we go. BackChat powered by Paywise. This is a long time coming, this one. He refused to do it as a coach. I asked him every second week and he wouldn't come on. But immediately after his mutual departure from the football club, we've got Adam Simpson on the podcast. Simo, welcome.
Hey,
Welcome,
boys.
Simo.
I'm a podcast virgin in this one. So.
You've never been on a podcast?
No, and I was tempted to do your one a while ago. Then you stitched up JL.
Okay.
Something happened. And
I don't stitch anybody up.
No, you didn't. But yeah, that scared me.
Okay.
So I backed away. But yeah, now I'm got a bit of spare time. I'm all yours.
Mate, it's great to have you on, and we appreciate that you don't listen to podcasts. So you won't know how we start this podcast. You know, we ask the same.
I'm raw
question.
dogging this podcast. That's the right terminology.
Yeah, I think so. Maybe. So we ask the same question to every guest on the pod. Every single episode, we've asked the same question. So I know you're a best and fairest winner. You're a 2-time premiership player, a premiership coach, 300 gamer,
Premiership assistant coach.
shinboner. Like we know you're a good football player, and we will get to that. And you've been a great coach, and we'll get to that also. But I want to know your greatest sporting achievement, not on the football field. So it can't be about coaching accolades or achievements. It can't be about your playing career. And I know you're a competitive man.
Yeah.
So Dan Const took 5 for 12.
5 for 16 in under 12's grand final. Lost the grand final, but doesn't matter.
I was a state under 9 80-meter hurdle
Do
champion.
you guys say that every time?
Yep.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
I've also represented the country playing fistball. So
We've had
Fistball. I've heard about fistball.
poker players, javelin throwers, pigeon flyers.
Okay.
We've had the lot. What's your greatest sporting achievement thanks to TABtouch?
Yeah, there's not a lot there.
Yes, there is.
I was a massive tryhard. Like I'd try too hard at everything. So I try and win the table tennis, the backyard cricket, that sort of stuff. But in terms of talent, I had a good arm. So I challenge anyone to a throw off.
Is that right?
throw anything.
Anything, rocks, tennis balls, rubber balls. Yeah, I don't need the dog throw at the park. I just use my
Use the arm,
So-
the cannon.
So I've got a good arm. But actually, I had a good arm. I'm not quite sure what it's like. So I always thought, geez, I could actually be good at javelin if I really.
Are you a left-hander or a right-hander?
I'm right-handed.
You're right-hander, left-footer.
Yeah,
that right?
It might explain a couple of things as a player. But yeah, that was the one thing I pride myself on.
That's good. Not great, but good, which is one of your favourite sayings, by the way. So I've used that going forward.
Yeah.
It's funny you mention
The dog.
the dog and the dog part, actually. Have you ever met Dan?
I'm not quite sure.
Yeah.
Have we met at a dog park?
We have met. Yeah. So
Which one?
It was one near sort of like West Leadville.
Just a while ago?
Yeah, a little while ago. I think right where you lived. Not that I knew where your house
You're talking
was.
about 5
but
years ago?
Yeah. Fair chunk of time
So
ago. So
how old are you?
34.
All right, so you're early 20s, early mid-20s.
Late 20s.
Late 20s. So I took the dog to the dog park and your dog and my dog started playing.
Stevie?
Yep. Well, I don't know what the name was, but you were playing on your phone, so you weren't really paying attention. So our dogs were just like sitting there playing.
Where's this going?
And
Stitched up already.
you
Scully?
your dog, and I'm like, oh, that's Adam Simpson, whatever. He's just coach the team that I love.
Dan's a big West Coast man.
So your dog then lays a big turd on the grass, right next to where our dogs are playing, but you didn't notice it. And so what happened was you sat there, and then eventually you came over. The dogs are playing. There's just a giant turd there, right next to both our dogs. It's your dog, and I was like, fuck, I don't want Adam Simpson to think that my dog, that I just like have bad dog control and let my dog shit on the ground.
Don't tell me you
pick it
picked up my dog.
So I picked it up because I didn't want you to think that it was my dog that did it because you weren't watching.
Do you understand the influence you have on people?
That was our only experience that's the only experience I've had with you.
I don't think I've heard of anyone picking up someone else's dog shit.
Well, because imagine when you see someone else's dog do it and they don't pick it up.
Just say, hey, listen, his dog's done a shit.
He was intimidated by you.
Well, I wasn't. I just didn't think it was like the right thing to say. So
tell
I
me.
just like, I'll just do it myself.
Actually, I had a bit of an argument with a lady down south last week. She come over and said, "Your dogs." We've got more than one dog now.
How many do you have?
I can't reveal that. I'm not sure if the council's really aware. Anyway, it was several. And this lady came over and said, "You realise?" I said, "Sorry, I didn't see it." And she looked at me like, I said, "You reckon I?"
Well, see, that's what I didn't want to get into.
It sounds like it's a pattern
and
of behaviour.
then I said, "Have you got any spare dog bags?" And she's gone, "You should be carrying dog bags." So anyway.
So that's what I wanted to avoid.
Yeah, well, apologies for that.
Great.
Okay. No worries.
Yeah.
Glad we got that under the
when I heard
bridge
that story, I was like, that sounds exactly right. It's brilliant stuff. So it's great to reunite you two. Mate, I want to start back at the start for you. I think a lot of it, people listening or watching will see you in a footy sense and as a player, as a coach, but what was life like growing up for Adam Simpson, like early days as a kid? Was it sporty?
Yeah. Going on this, maybe we're going to talk a lot about me in this.
That's the idea.
Yeah,
you don't like that, do you?
I'm interested about what you guys do more than me, to be honest. But look, my dad worked in the bank, so we moved every 2 years, and I got a chance to sort of reinvent yourself every couple of years when you move, and so sport is the way I got into connecting with people at school. So I just go in the Oval recess and try and meet some people. So the upbringing was Melbourne, Port Moresby, Papua New Guinea, Hobart, Launceston, Bendigo, Sale, and then back to Melbourne.
Wow.
Yeah, so like 7 or 8 different schools. So missed a little bit with the education. There's a few holes there because each school was different. But that was a challenge. But it was also, I've generated some skills around communication and connecting and all those things you got to do when you move school. So when I got drafted, I noticed that some of the country kids who just grew up in the same town found it a bit harder to connect and to adapt, where I found it a little bit easier. So there's some good parts to it too.
You're one of the more competitive people I've ever met and known. Can you trace that back to being a kid? And
yeah, I reckon I lost we're good friends and lost some people as well. So got a few clips at school. So there's a few Sale High. Someone gave me a clip for being a smart ass at school, but I was very competitive, probably too competitive when I think about it now. But it's sort of what got me to where I am now, I suppose. So and you sort of look for that in players. That competitive instinct you really like to see, and when you get a combo of that and really good talent, you get an A grade of it. I didn't have the talent didn't match the competitive instinct, to be honest.
You were pick 14 in 1993, so you can't have been. You weren't just a shit kicker. I mean,
I was a shit kick.
But you had. You're self-deprecating.
I know. I don't want to go to the point where I'm overdoing that. Yes. But I honestly, I had pretty good hands as a player, and I could find the ball, but I wasn't very polished.
Right. Your draft was. I was having a look back at it, doing some prep for this, and had 3 head coaches in there: 2 Scott brothers, Chris and Brad.
Oh, right.
And a CEO of an AFL club. Know who that is? Am I testing you? Don't have to look too far. Simon Gully.
Oh yeah.
Simon Gully.
Yeah,
all in your draft class. So it's a decent draft with 3 head coaches and a CEO coming out of it.
Yeah, I haven't had a look at the players from that, but I know I played at Northern Knights. Yep. So Northern Knights still going?
Yep.
It was like 2nd or 3rd year of under 18s comp, and I think like 17 players got drafted out of our team.
Right.
That year, something like that, and we got to play the granny at the MCG before. It was 93. Carlton, Essendon.
Wow.
Is that right?
Yep.
So under 18s.
93, yeah. 93 was Hawthorn, Essendon. No, was it Carlton, Essendon? Baby Bombers was 93, wasn't it? Yeah.
I can't remember. Anyway, it was grand final day, and we got to play at under 18s granny grand final day before the reserves, and I just made the squad halfway through the year, so I didn't make the squad at Northern Knights. So by halfway through the year, got to call up to fill in, and I played all right and ended up playing the rest at Northern Knights. And then before I knew it, I was playing MCG, and I was almost in the cheer squad at Carlton. I was not far off.
Big Carlton fan.
I was a Carlton nuffy. Yeah. So, when you can go on the G after the siren back in the day? I don't know if you're a bit older than you guys. You could run on the oval and have a kick around. So that was my only taste of the MCG. So to play on there in under 18s was pretty cool. Played on Brad Johnson on the wing.
I saw him in your draft as well. Did you win?
We won. We kicked 32 goals and they kicked 26. It was a bit of a shootout. Team D wasn't really.
Hadn't got behind the goals footage.
No.
Sorted by
I'm just trying to think. Chris Johnson, remember him?
Yep.
I think he kicked 8, and a guy named Shannon Gibson kicked 10.
Wow.
For us, yeah. I think we won.
It's bloody good.
If you're bouncing around schools like that, is that hard development wise for footy? Or is that sort of helpful to get you to the point where you're ready to sort of enter the discussion around draft and stuff like that?
Back then it was a bit different. There's a bit more hit and miss with the draft. These days it's a lot more organised. It's a bit more predictable now. So there's still some different ways to get into it, but it's a pretty familiar pathway now.
Do you remember your first game?
At North?
Yeah.
I think it was against West Coast.
It was.
I tagged Bluey McKenna,
Right.
and I was in the forward line, and I said to Dennis, how am I going to pick him up? He said, don't worry, he'll pick you up. And because he picked up the worst, he would dial in and find who's the dud here, and it's the debutant, 18-year-old or whatever it was. And sure enough, he come over and he put his arm across me. But yeah, so I tagged him from the forward pocket.
You always used to speak about you being a tagger at times. So did you start your career as a tagger? That's how you learned your craft, to go and play on the best players?
Yeah, I got picked 14 in the draft, and Dennis, after my first year, grabbed me. It was like the last training session of the year, and I wasn't in the seniors, didn't play a game. And he said, look, you haven't really come on this year. And then he said, go back in the drill. I thought, I'm done. And
that was the chat.
Yeah, he said, listen, son, King is a better explainer of this.
Listen, son, I've heard that.
And he said, you're our first pick, and you haven't really come on. And then, so I thought that meant that was it. That was a delisting on the spot, because I think that the seniors were in the finals, and so were the reserves, but I wasn't close to getting a game. So,
how much did you learn from Dennis Pagan?
A lot, and you don't really know until you leave. I reckon.
That's a good point.
Yeah, I reckon when you another 10 years time, the influence, you say, oh shit, that was going on there. So not saying you'll learn that in 10 years about me, but when you get a bit older, you sort of understand a little bit about what Dennis was doing, and Danny Laley was the same.
Yes.
You learn a lot from those coaches from life as well, but more a bit later in life.
Yeah, because you get out and then you're a head coach down the track, and then you realise, right, this is what was going on from Dennis. You don't realise as a player that's what's happening until you're actually experiencing.
Footy-wise, yeah, but also in life as well. Like, you pretty much grow up at the footy club. So, how you treat people, how you communicate, how we've all got mentors, and it's like, what would Dennis do right now? That type of thought process, not just in footy. They do have big influence.
How quickly into your playing career did you think you might have a future in coaching?
I was 26 and I didn't have any qualifications. So I thought, what am I going to do if I get the flick in the next couple of years? So I was the paranoia guy as a player. I was play for relief, not, just meet your expectations. I get a game next week, and I don't know what were you like?
Yeah.
Yeah. So fear of failure was the way I sort of operated. And I was captain for 5 years. That was, the competitive instinct, the desperation to perform and just meet expectations was there. But I did get to a stage where, I had a wife and kids, and I thought, what am I going to do? I had a mortgage. And I was thinking, if I finish in 2 or 3 years, so I thought I'd get into coaching as much as I could. So, yeah, about 26, I reckon I started thinking like that.
You've run a few businesses along the way. You tried a few things. What sort of businesses did you run along the way where you're trying to find coaching?
Well, like I said, because I don't have any qualifications at the time, so I thought I'd tap into the membership the 6,000 members North had back in the early 90s. And I started Kanga Clippings with we're gardening business.
With who?
Mark Stevens.
Right. Kanga Clippings, good. I like it.
And
I'll throw some at you if you don't remember.
No, yeah. But that didn't last very long, so I didn't quite tap into the membership base. I did personal training. I did the personal trainer, the 2-day course that you do.
Good.
And so I thought I'd tap into the membership base. And that didn't last too long. A dog wash. I bought a vending machine dog wash, which I still think is.
You're still positive?
I reckon that's still a good business to have.
Okay.
It's cash.
A mobile one?
No, not the groomer, like the mobile. Not there's anything wrong with that.
Yeah.
No, the one they've actually you put them at car washes.
Yeah.
Put tokens in, and you wash your own dog.
Okay.
And then
you got some cut.
So
Hungry Jack's could align with maybe.
maybe.
Did it work? The dog wash?
Yeah. I did. Drew Petrie, he was too much of a tight ass. He'd count every cent, and like there was no tax breaks in that one because Drew was too honest. So so when I got the job at West Coast, I had to sell them. We got 2.
Right.
So
More? Did you do other businesses?
well, then I got other vending machines. I thought I'll tap into the membership and sponsorship at North and put these vending machines in the car yards. They're just the Coke machines.
Great.
So
Were you driving around changing the?
yep, while I was captain. So, and I had the club car. They gave me a car as well, and I'd go to the warehouse discount, whatever it is, get the Cokes for 50 cents.
Load up
This
the
is
machine.
mid-20s.
Yeah.
I don't know what you call that. Desperation. I don't know. I was just trying.
Entrepreneurship.
Yeah. Well, so you learn along the way. I went into business with Steve Owen Arch, 7, 10, 11 investments. That was that got a bit heavy. That wasn't vending machines. That was buying a building that we found out was heritage listed. We couldn't do anything with it. So we lost a bit of money on that. And then so the coaching thing became a little bit more real. And I wanted to study, so I met Dave Whedon at the time and thought, how can I prepare myself as a coach, as a player? And we started a little course, and I think that's sort of continued now to a lot of players who want to do coaching in their future endeavours. So that was really important.
You're a dual premiership player with North Melbourne. So you debuted in 95 against Eagles. The next year, 96, you played in the grand final.
Yep.
Premiership, not just a grand final.
Yeah. No, it was surreal. Like the first year, didn't get a game. Second year, I played 2 games. And, in the draft, like it's luck of the draw because I went at pick 14. One of my good mates, Angelo Lekis, I think he went at pick 13, I think, and went to Hawthorn, and they did nothing for the next 10 years.
Mm.
I get to North and, 7 prelims in a row. So it's just a bit of a sliding doors moment. I probably wouldn't be here if I hadn't gone pick.
Yeah.
So anyway, that was second or third year we played in a grand final. Managed to play every game in 96 as a, defensive half forward. And then, bit of luck and a bit of opportunity.
Do you know where you were named for the 96 premiership, like pre-game? And I know you're a head coach, so you guys play games with this sort of bullshit anyway, but do you know where you were named?
No.
Do you know?
No.
You were named in centre.
I actually started in the middle on Paul Roos,
Right.
I think.
It was
And he had like 8 touches in 2 minutes, and that put me. that was back when you got dragged. I had 6 touches at 96.
I was going to ask if you knew how you went.
And I kicked a goal with a minute to go.
Right. I wonder how that goal was.
Yeah.
So you had 6 in the goal, but he won a premiership.
Yeah.
Doesn't really
I
matter
was
if
the
you had-
last picked. Like
Right.
it was one of those ones where I think Matty Armstrong, who'd been there a while, he didn't get picked. Ross Smith didn't get picked, and I'm 19.
Hmm.
So I felt really bad at the. Obviously I was thrilled, but those guys' whole careers and then missed out an opportunity to play in one.
We've spoken to Kingy, we've spoken to Corey McKernan.
Yep.
I feel like there's a Praddy. We've spoken to quite a few North players.
Ruckman.
Yeah,
Spider?
Corey McKernan.
Spider.
Oh, Spider Burton.
He's told me he's done your show.
Yeah, it was
How
very,
was he?
very entertaining. Great.
It was a
Very
good
Funny.
storyteller.
Very funny.
Very good.
He's
But they-
tall, very tall.
Yeah, he's
Very
tall.
tall.
Standing next to Dan was a very good photo. It's like his child. What?
Who's been your best one?
Adam Simpson.
Yeah, Adam
Who was
Simpson.
give me your top 3.
Look, it depends how you judge it. I judge it by enjoyment levels and like me enjoying the interview. I really like Lewis Jetta.
Yeah.
One of my great mates, and
He's
he
a good
had
man.
he had everything. He had, and you know this, he had humour, he had serious footy chat, and he had a really went really deep with some mental stuff. He
Yeah,
spoke
right.
really truthfully. I like those ones. The ones where people just are themselves.
Dave Matthews, very good. Really
Yeah.
interesting to hear
CEO of GWS.
the front office
Oh,
stuff.
yeah, right.
Front office stuff as well as a couple of big stories around
Yeah,
Beatles
hang out with Oasis and stuff,
Oasis.
So if I had to start with one, start with Jets.
Jets, yeah, it's a
Oh.
good one.
I'll do that.
Um,
Sorry.
He may not actually know the story around why Jets was late to
He probably does.
the final.
So 2018 qualifying final, he was late to that game.
He was late all the time. He's always late. Tell me the one he was on time, and that would be the one I'd be.
But he was
surprised.
properly late. So I was first emergency for that game. You dropped me. And
Did we win?
you did win. Well done. But I was first emergency, so I was pretty flat, but I was sort of ready to play. And it was one of those ones that's first emergency, which I was quite used to doing, that someone's in doubt, but it's like, you're not going to get a game.
Yeah.
Someone comes up and goes, mate, Jets
Jets
is not here. Like, genuinely not here. It's 50 minutes before the game.
Did he walk across the bridge or something?
Mate,
That's that
he
one.
was playing. He was playing Call of Duty. Forgot the time. Got stuck in traffic. Got out of his car on whatever road that is. Came across the train line. Walked in with the crowd, and then kicked the winning goal. That's right.
Good on him.
Yep.
I lost track a little bit, but 96, and then 99. So, and we talk about influence. You have 6 touches and a goal in your first, and then in 99, I assume you reflect on that, and you have 27. 4 hit outs, by the way. This is nice.
4 hit outs.
Eight inside 50s. Like, you perform well like that.
Yeah, third man up was sort of a thing
Yeah.
that we sort of, I don't know if we started it, but definitely, the basketball background helped, and it was like these two guys are standing still. You could just run and, do a deal with, the Brent Harvey types. So that was, the third man up was up until they took I think Clarko decided he didn't want it. So it got taken out a few years ago.
But do you remember coming to West Coast? You used to run like one-on-one sessions. You used to teach us how to do third man up.
Great way. I actually thought it opened the game up, but I sort of got, something. Bevo won a flag in 16,
Yep.
And then we had a coaches get together in Sydney, and I don't think some of the senior coaches didn't like it, so and Bevo was filthy.
Is that what happens? Is that what happens with coaches?
Oh, it's happened before. Yeah, the meeting with Gill's always been interesting back in the day.
Is it the one they rock
Senior
up with
coaches.
the bottles of wine and they got the
They do that one, mid-season. Like, we're all going to fly to Melbourne to have dinner with Gill. Like, so the one pre-season. So I reckon 3 or 4 rules have been changed on the basis of. So the sub rule, I reckon, came in around that.
Just
through
from
that
coach's
meeting.
preference.
Something like that. Yeah. Definitely that third man up one.
Did you ever get anything over the line?
I
In
never
your
asked.
tenure?
No, no.
That
No, I
wasn't
never
that wasn't your jam.
No, well, we lost the 666 was the last 666 game ever that wasn't that was 18.
Right.
So that all changed. So maybe that's why everything went.
So they weren't happy with that. So they changed that.
No, the coaches didn't change that. There was a bit of research behind that, but no, I'm throwing out darts here. I can't really remember, but I know there's a few rules that have been tweaked.
Where I was going with the North stuff was spoken to all those guys on the podcast, and they speak about the culture. And people like to throw around the shinboner stuff, but it sounds like that's a little bit external. People talking about that. The real culture was like the connection between you blokes. Like, it was a pretty connected footy club.
Yeah, it was. And I learned a lot about the unity piece. And I know that the Carey stuff has sort of murkied the waters a little bit. So, parking that conversation, it was such a tight group. And because we were playing good footy at the same time, and the balance between social and serious was tested, but everyone trained. So Monday, everyone just trained. No one didn't train. But if you played on a Friday, you're probably going out 2 or 3 nights in a row, and you're doing that sort of stuff. But
You boys played on Friday a lot as well.
early days, yeah. But the unity of the group and how tight they were, it was a real. And I still think it's true. It's a point of difference because 80-90% of what you do, everyone does. So what's that last 10% that's different? And North, outside the talent, they had this connection where and Duck was a big part of it, whether you're best player or shit kicker, you're one of us. So very intimidating when you went out back in the day and you saw 40 guys all from North and you're there with 3 and you'd see them come in and go, and they'd leave, and it was it was a definite strength of ours, and the fact that we didn't have a lot going for us. You know, the club wasn't, flushed with facilities and that sort of stuff. So it was a real badge of honour. And footy chips were compulsory.
Yes, great. Good segue. So you used to speak about this a lot at West Coast, actually. Said you never missed a footy trip.
Oh, I did.
Fines master.
Did you? Oh, yeah. Owen, he was born on the 10th of October. Poor
Whose fault's that? It's not his.
Yes. That's your fault. Probably mine. I wasn't a great footy tripper, to be honest.
You used to organise them, though.
I was good. I'm a good organiser, but I'm not. I don't ghost anymore. It's like I'm leaving. Good night. But I'm happy to organise it and run it, but I'm not the last there.
So you just disappear all the time?
Not disappear. I declare it, but I couldn't go, and I just couldn't be bothered. You know, I'm married, kids, and I wasn't. Not to say that makes any difference, but I just wasn't.
You're old. Well, that sounds like you're.
No, I was. That was early mid-20s. Like I just, I really enjoyed seeing everyone together, and I think I learnt that in my younger years at North, and definitely when I took over, that was still big in my eyes. That it was still the point of difference, because in the end it was about winning and connecting the guys like we did. And I wasn't alone. We had a lot of guys who were really good at it.
That's interesting. Having played under you, like you can see what you learned as a player at North. Like you really had that as a massive pillar of how you coached, was the connection, and I think we can speak about, like, you were strong on we're got to have footy trips, we've got to have fine sessions, you boys have got to be together, fun. Right?
Yeah. Well, it was interesting West Coast, because the stuff that happened in 06 and 07, all the bad times that happened, with all the drug stuff. So when I got there in 13, I still think there was a bit of residual with, and to the club's credit, they just drafted and recruited character. So character over talent. Quite often take the talent and develop the character. That sort of, but I think West Coast went down a path of, we are just going to get rock solid people. So when I rocked up, there are just so many good characters there, like really down to earth, high values, just really good, like-minded people, but perhaps a little bit, restricted to try and enjoy himself. So I think we did say footy trips, but they're back.
Yeah.
And it wasn't, for anything other than the connection piece.
Yeah.
And it's getting harder and harder to do that, obviously. But I think the boys went to Darwin or something.
Yep.
So we used to go to, Hawaii, then Cancun.
The same year.
The same year. It was a double up. So it'd be, a 10 to 12 day extravaganza, and a bit cheaper back in the day too. And, we'd look after the young guys. But yeah, so the fact that I think when we started, the values were so strong and really good, solid people, but you didn't probably connect as much as I thought you would have. And I think part of that's the travel, because you're together every second week. So I still struggled to connect it, but I sort of understand it.
You used to run like sausage sizzles and like members' days to fund your footy trips, didn't you? I remember a couple of good stories you told me about. Well, I don't know how illegal that was, but you told a couple of good stories around. Yeah, you used to be able to fundraise, and I think teams still do that back in Melbourne. We were never allowed to talk about.
We raised 50 grand one year, I think Lee Colbert he took the charge in that one, but we had the Oval, Arden Street, got a marquee, got everyone to bring their training gear, old training gear. Drew was in charge of stubby holders, so he'd sell the stubby holders. So he'd buy them for $1, sell them for $8, and got them labelled. And we just went big fundraising, and it was a raffle. So you paid $100. Someone's probably told this before.
No, never heard it.
You pay $100 for a ticket, gets you all you can drink, all you can eat, and Colby's mate was in a band, and the raffle was 10 grand or something, cash. So and everyone had to sell 10 tickets
as players.
So there's the grand each. There's 40 grand. You sell your 10 tickets, or you pay. So Glenn Archer goes, give the tickets away and pay. Whereas the young fella, you had to go around and sell them to parents, sell them to friends. So in the end, you sell them to your mates to a certain extent, but it's all you can drink, all you can eat. Yeah. And it's a day on the.
And you might win 10 grand.
And you might win 10 grand. Although I'm not sure if anyone did win 10 grand, but and then we all cheered little stalls around, that sort of stuff. We did that for a couple of years and raised some good coin. I don't know how the club How do you reckon West Coast would go if we did that?
Hold it at a Hungry Jack's down the lap line.
Oh, yeah. No, that was I can't remember what year that was, but that was something that we did, and I think people from other clubs admired it to a certain degree, and quite often you get the support staff that they'd come, and the volunteers and that sort of stuff as a way to reward them. They wouldn't buy tickets, but you sort of get everyone there.
Why has everyone got a favourite Mick Martin story that I speak to at North Melbourne?
He's just
Ripper.
He's a ripper, but they're all. My era was I was a bit younger, so they were all like 27, 28. I was 18, 19. So different sort of eras. Not that there was cliques, but so yeah. He, I don't know. He's like a cartoon character. That's probably why.
Do you have a Mick Martin voice? Because it seems like everyone that tells a Mick Martin story does the voice.
Nah, Kings would have given that.
Yeah, Kingy, Corey, all of them. Everyone,
All of them,
Brady,
yeah.
everyone.
No.
Every time they say something, it's like they do it in his voice.
I don't have it. No, I don't. I couldn't even. I thought it was a little bit insulting for Mick because he had a few issues with his speech from when he was a kid, and I thought, obviously cross that line, no worries, the boys. But he used to. I think he used to drink ouzo and what's the fire trucks? Raspberry
Grenadine, like the raspberry
vodka.
stuff.
What are they called? Fire engines.
Yeah, vodka fire engine.
And he'd just rock up on Sunday with huge red lips, trying to act all normal. And Dennis would go around. If he suspected something, he'd get a jumper sign, and he'd walk around and say, "Can you sign?" And he'd get right up in your face to see if you're on the.
That was Dennis's little.
Yeah, I reckon that I saw it at least twice. And where's Dennis getting a jumper sign? And it was the smell test. So yeah, good old days.
That's good.
He had some proper success though, and that group, some legends of the game. You would like, and yeah.
Yeah, and he didn't even know it at the time.
Yeah,
Duck was like, superstar, but I was, like I said, just getting drafted at the right time. But Peter Bell's story is a bit different. Have you had him on?
No, I haven't.
No,
He'd be a good one to get. So he sort of started around the same time. I don't know whether he got delisted from over here or something, but it was a train on and dominated an intra-club, and then he got picked up, and then the rest is history with him. Shannon Grant got traded in from Sydney.
Yep.
Put a price on his head when he went in the draft, when he went to Sydney. So he got traded for Wayne Swass, I think, back in the day. And my other good mate with Matty Capuano. So we're all the same age. So that little crew, we sort of grew up together in the mid-90s. So in 99, we all started in the middle or something like that,
Huh.
And we just complimented some of those superstars.
What do you remember of that first game against Adelaide when Kerry came back and started playing for Adelaide?
Oh, yeah.
Did you play in that game?
I did, yeah.
Because it was hot early.
Oh, yeah. Oh, it's a difficult thing to talk about because, it's been really difficult. We had a 99 reunion 3 or 4 weeks ago.
Yeah.
Or 5 or 6 weeks. That was good, but, it's not the same at the moment. So hopefully that can get worked out down the track. But, yeah, that game was – and so Colby, Lee must have played on Duck that day, I think. I remember from memory. But, I can't – it's hard to really comment on that because the stories behind all that and how it all happened, it'd bring up some bad memories for some people.
You missed – does this sound right? You missed 7 games over your whole career? 306 games?
Yeah, something like that.
You missed 7 games. That's durable. You can be many things, but you can call yourself durable.
Yeah, genetics, like ice baths. I can't believe you guys did ice baths.
You bullshit artist. Watching the ice go.
I was like, I will train on Monday. If I don't train on Monday, I'll start doing ice baths, or I'll get a massage, or I'll get physio. So I was lucky.
Did you play late in your career, either your 300th, your last game, or even, was it the 99 flag, your calf?
Yeah, I did my calf in my last game.
In your last
one of the
game.
most selfish things I've ever done.
Can you tell me about that?
I feel like we're talking a lot about me, but this is what
That's exactly
what it is.
Podcast is doing. Yeah, I'd retired. It was just a selfish week. Like I do regret it, how I did it all. So I was a bit self-indulgent. So I retired on a Tuesday or whatever. It was round 17. I was playing, but I was sort of starting on the bench. I was like, what's going on here? And then they start me half forward, and So I thought, okay. So I spoke to Donald McDonald early in the year, and I said, mate, am I in your plans for next year? He said, no. I said, all right, fine. And I lasted about another 5 weeks, and I retired. Then I had the Channel 7 crew follow me for a week. So took the kids to school, went to a leadership meeting, had my computer, whatever. And then they
influencer before this even started.
mic'd me up for the, it's on YouTube somewhere, I'm assuming. Mic'd me up for the last training. It was captain's run. And I practiced the third man up. And I've never done calf before. When feels like someone hits you with a rock. You've done a calf?
Yep. And
I'll turn around and say, who threw that? And it was my calf. So I did my calf. But they just stuck local in it. It was a gastroff, not the soleus, the other one.
Right.
And they just put local in it, and it just sheared. The muscle just sheared. So
you jabbed your calf and played in your last game.
I'm not sure if that's allowed, is it?
Hey?
And I didn't play well at all. But I'd already given away tickets and got everyone sorted, and it was like captain's run. So, and we couldn't play finals. And we lost. I didn't play very well. And then it all ended. I was on crutches for 2 weeks after it.
Oh, right.
So I was just, I sort of regret that a little bit.
That's interesting. So you go end your career, 300-game player, legend of the footy club, and you go straight into coaching, straight into Hawthorn coaching?
Didn't have a job, mate.
Yeah.
I needed a job. So I was, reasonably confident I'd done enough work to prepare myself, but they weren't really doing the straight from playing to coaching stuff back then. I'm doing a little bit, but it was more on reputation. And, so I remember giving my CV to Brad Scott, who just took over from North, and he said, you need to go somewhere else, mate.
What's on your CV at that point?
Not much.
Played
dog wash.
footy,
No, I
dog wash.
did. Yeah, can get clippings. I did.
Were you mowing the lawns with that as well?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Actually, Mark Roberts still owes me a whippersnipper. You borrowed it, never get it back. The CV was probably more coaching philosophy.
Yep.
I did the level 3 course, which is, coaches know what that is. So I ticked that off. Did the Dave Whedon thing. So it was more based on your footy career sort of stuff. But yeah, Brad took it and put it in the top drawer and said, "No, mate, you need to leave." And then I dropped it off at Windy Hill, and I did an interview with Demmer to go to the Tigers. He just got the Tigers job, and then I met with Clarko, and the rest is history. Got the job at Hawthorn and spent 4 years there.
Do you think that was, you've been in footy a long time, right? Since probably playing juniors to North, to Hawthorn, to West Coast. Do you think, I don't know, now looking back on it, was that the right move? Just going straight into coaching?
Oh, absolutely. For me, yeah. I loved it, and I went straight into a club, which, Hawthorn, my first year was 2010. We won the first game. I remember the pre-season game, because at North, every game was like a grand final, pre-season, because we wanted to win the cash for the pre-season comp.
Yeah, there's big money on the line back then.
It was, yeah. And so we just picked the best team. Whereas I went to Hawthorn, and I remember Clarko let everyone coach a game. We lost to someone that we shouldn't have lost to. And after the game, everyone was like, Sam Mitchell got up and said, "Listen, I'm doing some renos tomorrow. I'm going to put some beers on. Who wants to come over?" Like, there's no debrief, no. I thought, geez, we're pretty casual. And then we won round 1 by 50 points. I thought, okay, this is 2010. And then we lost 5 in a row. And that I think was when Jeff Kennett wanted Clarko to have a week off in the twos. I don't know if.
What tell me about that?
Oh, I think he
like
said
dropping
something.
a coach.
Yeah,
to the twos.
I think you need to have a spell in Box Hill or something like that. But so it was my first year, and I was thinking, geez, we're in a bit of strife here, and then we beat Richmond or someone around 6, and then we ended up making finals. But yeah, it was a rough first year. But as the years went by, some of the players there and the coaching, I shared an office with Bevo, Brett Ratton, Brendan Bolton, Leon Cameron. We're on the same tiny office.
Wow.
And then you got Fagan and Clarkson. So I just didn't know it at the time. I was just learning so much from those great people. All of them were just exceptional.
Are they like training you, or is it just sort of like get in, sort yourself out, and just learn as we go?
Yeah, sort yourself out. I wouldn't say they'd say, "We're going to do this, this, and this." It's just like, there's your desk, get to work. Relationships, the education piece. So all of them had just so many good strengths, and you take little bits from each of them, and you just learn as you go. So yeah, and then obviously success for a senior coach to get a job. If you come from a club that's having success, it sort of helps. So we lost to Granny in 12, and then won one in 13, and that's when I went for the West Coast job.
So in that time as an assistant coach, you're pretty young, straight out of the game. Did anything surprise you as a coach than as a player? Like, given that you'd seen everything as a player, as assistant coach?
Not really, mate.
You know?
Nah, it's a pretty similar environment to the playing group, the coaching group. Like, because you travel, and when you travel, you're together a lot, and you ride the bumps as well. And Clarko was exceptional at connecting everyone in the coaching group, and with Fags as guidance as well. It was just a really good environment. So I learned a lot about it. The unity piece just transferred from playing to coaching.
Clarkson and Pagan, so major differences in their coaching.
Different eras, I suppose. Clarko, when I got to West Coast, you take things from wherever you've come from. So I took a lot of what we did to West Coast, from a total footy education, flipping the classroom, all that sort of stuff that it's pretty common now. I don't think many clubs are doing it. I don't know if you guys are doing it.
No.
With, no disrespect to Woosh and his crew, but it was just a different way. And Brendan Bolton had some good connection pieces around education, that sort of stuff. So that was different. Dennis was like, here's your 10 game plan rules. We're doing that, and that's it. You know, and then we did the same 5 drills every session for 10 years. And we're very good at them.
Did you how long did it take you to have sort of a bit of a say in what would happen within the strategy and stuff like that as an assistant? Do you get any sort
at
of
Hawthorn?
Yeah. Do you get any leeway at all?
You can recommend. Yeah, that was an open forum. It was pretty open. I was in charge of stoppages and kick-ins in zones. So you're watching the most vision. So when you recommend something, you sort of hope that they know that you've watched the vision. So that was what I was doing there. I can't really remember how many got over the line, but yeah, it was just a really good time. Yeah, and I took a lot from that.
Who could give the biggest spray, Clarkson or Pagan or Simpson?
Oh, Clarko.
It wasn't Simpson. Even though you gave some good ones, but
nah,
not really.
I just think the players changed, and since my time at North to now, they're different. The players are different. They just respond differently. Then I just want to please the coach, or I just want to prove you wrong. They're the two sort of things you want to. So with Dennis, it was I just want to prove you wrong. Like you pulled out that last contest. You're like, no, I didn't. I'll knock myself out next time just to prove you wrong.
Right.
That's how you
Yes.
know. Clarko's a bit different than that, but yeah, I just think as you evolve as humans, like we're just different. Like there was no phones until 2007, and it's just everything's different now. So you got to change the way you try and get the best out of players.
Did you run the forward line at Hawthorn?
Yeah, 13 I did. Yeah.
So who ran it? Like, what did you do with Buddy? What did you tell? What did you tell Buddy?
I never played forward really, other than as a tagger. So I remember that year it was unity was just the biggest thing. Can we do things together? The forwards don't like meetings. Backs love meetings. So you're idiots. And they so we'd bring coffees to meetings and that sort of stuff, which was like, we'd have a meeting on the Oval and the other lines go, what's going on there? It was I kept it pretty loose. But Buddy was, I think he was averaging 8 shots a game. But I think Ruffy won the Common that year.
Huh.
So it was a pretty tough gig. I had Franklin, Roughhead, Rioli, Bruce, Gunston, and Piopolo. So it was all coaching in the end. It was just kick the ball in and we'll be fine. No, it was a little bit different. We did a couple of little things there, but yeah, to be honest, it was a stacked forward line.
Would you be able to just pull your mic a little bit?
Oh, I've done
the Dennis.
Done the
No,
Dennis.
it's all right.
It's
Yeah,
okay.
good.
So what does the head coaching application process look like? And at the end of 2013, after a grand final, like, do you think you're ready, or are you going to West Coast and you're going? This is just an experience. Like, where was your head at, and what was that like?
I buggered a few things up before that. So I went for the Brisbane job when Lepich got it, and I went for the Giants succession plan one.
When Leon Cameron.
When Leon got it, and we're going for the same job in our office.
Did you know? Like, did you?
Yeah, I saw him working on his prezzo. And then the Melbourne succession plan as well when Roosie was there.
Right.
So the year before I went for the Giants one, and I didn't tell Hawthorn. I didn't know. It was my first. Someone rang, and when someone rings you and says, "Hey, listen, how about you want to go for the, Brisbane job?" I was like, "Oh yeah, absolutely." And I was 2 years in. I wasn't really ready, but I thought, I'll go for it for sure. And it was a prelim of the Hawthorn 2012, I think it was, something like that.
Mm.
And I thought, I don't want to disrupt anything, so I just won't tell Clarko or Fags. Fags is the one you meant to tell. And then they found out, and I buggered that up.
What was that like? What did they do?
Oh,
they put you into a meeting?
Yeah, put me in a room. It was A, you're not ready, and B, you got to tell us this. It was that type of. It was a fair clip, and it was deserved. Like I didn't really know. I was trying to do the right thing. I wasn't trying to be too secretive, but I just didn't want to disrupt the week. So a bit naive. Didn't get the job, and then Leon got it. So Leon must have told him everything, and I learned a lot from that. And then
what feedback do you get? Like what do they tell? Do they say, "Oh, sorry, I didn't get it," or
I was looking for feedback. So the Brisbane one was interesting. No, I asked for feedback after it, and I think he said, "Oh, you could have stood up in your presentation." I was like, there wasn't a lot of feedback.
Physically stand up?
Well, it was a real small room, and I stayed at the boardroom desk. I could have stood up.
Right.
So if that was it, I thought, okay, I'm not miles off.
Stand up next time.
Stand up next time.
Yeah.
So I did that. But the really interesting thing, and I'm interested to see what happens with West Coast going forward. The way they handled it was 100 times better than all the other clubs. The process was so different. So the other clubs and I'm sure they've all changed now. So this is 12 years ago. But it was an email, or let's just talk about leadership, or here's a little pack of our club and who we are. Whereas West Coast, it was a headhunting firm that was got nothing to do with West Coast. And this guy rang me. Lloyd Smith, his name was, and he said, "I'm representing West Coast. I want to talk about your values." And I said, "Okay." And we spent, I don't know, an hour just talking about nothing to do with footy, leadership, all that sort of stuff. And then he said, "Give me 10 references and make sure 2 of them are bad, that don't like you or whatever,
Really?
So I put Clarko down as one of the bad ones. So I went through two interviews with them before I even got to the West Coast position. So then when I went to West Coast, you got to fly over, so it's a bit different than Melbourne. And then presented, and they said, "Look, if you did a good job, you'll stay tonight and you'll present again tomorrow, or you'll get a boarding pass to go straight to the airport and fly out that night." So you go back in your room and I just waited for the knock on the door.
You're kidding?
Yeah. And he said, "No, we want you to come back tomorrow and present."
Because the external and being at the club at the time, Peter Sumich had been assistant coach, and there was a fair bit of talk within the playing group and external here in West Australian media, which good friends of yours, that Suma was a favourite for the job, and then you'd come and presented and you hit the ball, you absolutely knocked him out of the park with your presentation.
Yeah, I don't know about the other stuff, but it was a pretty similar prezzo that I'd done to the other clubs, and it was what I'd largely learnt at Hawthorn. So the holistic approach, but a little bit it was the North stuff about the culture and connection and unity. Must just resonated with what they were looking for. I think it was presented to the board. It wasn't a selection panel. I think it was the board. On the board at the time, there was a lot of footy people as well.
Yep.
So, and then I came back the next day, and I remember saying, "Oh, look, I'm not Clarkson. I'm not Pagan. I'm my own man." I think the risk was because I was 38, they might have thought I was trying to just be a. So I think I read the room okay with all that, and then they said, "All right, we'll get back to you." And then I flew back to Melbourne and I just waited, and then I did do a psych test.
Did you?
Yeah, I was really worried about that.
So what does that look like? What were you worried about?
Online, because you don't know if you're, secretly
a lunatic.
Yeah, you don't know. You really don't know when you're doing it, because you can't you can't fudge that one.
Are you wired up? Like, what's the psych test? Like, are you
It was
scribbling in?
online, so Dad was with me, helped me out a little bit.
Did he?
Well, some of them were like, "How smart are your questions?" So there was two
Right.
psych. I can't remember what they were, and
So you asked Dad.
yeah, I did it at Dad's house. He's smarter than me. So
That's bloody good.
so yeah, and you worry a bit about your profile, because I've done a few of them. I actually prepared a couple of years before it. I met a guy who'd done prepared people for jobs or interviewed people for other panels. So I said, "What do you do?" And I did a mock test and all that sort of stuff. So, but yeah, when you do it, you don't really know what it's going to spit out, because if you're not up to it from a psychological point of view, there's not much wriggle room there.
Your dad would have been pretty proud when you got the job.
Oh yep. He said, "You got 2 years." That's how long you got. Yeah, he's pretty
and then
brutal.
sack done.
Yeah, so you'll have 2 years, mate. And then, yeah, he's pretty honest. Like some of the feedback I've got the last couple of years from Dad, it's been
Warranted?
pretty good.
Warranted? As
Oh
in
yeah,
from-
it's been
as
on.
in-
It was on you guys, not me.
Who's you guys? I haven't played for 4 years.
Oh, that's right. Oh, I keep thinking you played a couple of weeks ago.
I did.
No. Look,
Yeah.
he's just like all parents are different, but he's just pretty honest.
Well, it's just interesting to hear that, like that relationship's important, parent, and then
Yeah.
because then as head coach, you mentioned it earlier on. Didn't want to go there too ahead of time, but the head coach, I'm sure it's not lost on you that it's a father figure, and that's not a parent figure. It's a leadership role that the players and the coach. It's a very different relationship to anything else you have in life, really. I don't know.
Yeah,
I don't know if
it's got harder though, mate. It's because you're you're doing so much, and I think part of the, I've been doing the job for a while. The relationship you have with your assistant coach is probably stronger than with the senior coach. The senior coach still is the one you yearn for their not opinion. What's the word?
Approval.
Approval. But your relationship, my relationship with the Hawthorn players was stronger because I was, connected as a line coach, and Clarko was the same, and so was Dennis. You try and connect as much as you can, but you're trying to deal with 43 players, and then you got your staff, and then you got the board and executives, the rest of the club. So yeah, but your influence. So that one conversation you have can influence a player's mood for the week, and the relationship can get lost straight away as well. So. Yeah, that wasn't lost. I mean, and my dad was an influence on how to treat people with that sort of stuff. But yeah, you learn a lot through the football industry as well.
With you taking the job over from Woosha, someone who's a West Coast legend, been at the club for a long time, you were an outsider. Did you feel that pressure?
Yeah,
What was
I didn't
that
know
like?
anyone. I didn't know who Trevor Nisbet was. I didn't know any of the board. I didn't know. I did the press conference at the club in the John Worsfold room, and there was this big oil painting of him with an eagle on his shoulder. Have you seen it?
It's like something that AI generates.
Yeah.
It's ridiculous.
And it's like the interview, the press conference sort of had that there, and so I wasn't. I didn't really know. I didn't know what I was doing. I was 38. You don't learn how to when you're an assistant coach. You got no connection to list management. You got no connection to dealing with boards, managing up. It's a challenge when you're a line coach because you just don't experience that stuff. So I was really lucky. I had some really good people around that helped me through the first couple of years.
Who are you commissioning for your oil painting? Is it where's that going? Or have you got one already?
I haven't thought about
I remember that one of Woosha.
Whoosh is my first ever appearance was the best and fairest. Because you
2013.
somehow had your best and fairest in October.
Yeah, you weren't happy with that. I remember you not being happy with that.
Wow, it was like pre-season had started.
Yeah, and we missed finals.
And it was like 6, 7, 8 weeks after the season, and I couldn't work it out. And that was the night they decided to change the medal to the John Worsfold medal. And every player that got up wanted to thank John, of course. And then I just put a drinking ban on you blokes.
That's right.
Because you had training the next day on Monday. So not only,
Not only were we sober,
you were sober at your BNF, and
you had to get up and speak in front of the
Something I
John
can't
Worsfold
remember.
room.
Yeah.
John Worsfold medal.
yeah. But that was all fine. No, I wasn't. I just didn't know. I didn't know how big the club was. I didn't know the state at all. I'd only been here as a player for North, so I didn't know anyone.
What's day one like with the players as a head coach at West Coast?
Yeah, I did a couple of things. I remember talking to you guys about who I was and just pretty straight up with my expectations around values and that sort of stuff. And then it was the total footy stuff. I think we started to talk about trying to teach that. And you guys are so ready. Yeah, I was really lucky. Like, I think you finished last in 10.
Yep.
Then 11 made a prelim, 12 finals, and 13 lots of injuries and retirements. So I just got, I didn't realise it at the time, how ready you guys were for something different. That's why I think the group now, they're ready for something different. And you just don't know. You don't know what's going to happen.
Guys, that was part 1 of the Adam Simpson interview. Here's some more of what's coming up next week on part 2.
The club has done so much for me. It's just been the best experience of my life.
Is that something in you that you feel like you've had to be able to pick that from players?
I'm surprised you won 18.
How much influence can you have on going final day like that? Five goals down as a coach.
And then the losses started to mount up. And that became a real challenge.
What did you say when you walked into the press conference?
That's why I think the group now, they're ready for something different. You just don't know. You don't know what's going to happen.